This podcast is produced by Outcomes Rocket, your healthcare exclusive digital marketing agency. Outcomes Rocket exists to help healthcare organizations like yours to maximize their impact and accelerate growth. Visit outcomesrocket.com or text us at 312-224-9945. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Expanding Access Podcast, recorded live here at Behavioral Health Tech Conference in Arizona. Today I have the pleasure of hosting Melissa Danielsen. She is the CEO at Joshin.
Yeah.
Melissa, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me here.
It's so great to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have the conversation today and have enjoyed this conference. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, and you just got done with a panel, right?
Yes, so did a panel on wraparound services for families with autism, where we talked about the gaps in autism care for families today, whether clinical or non-clinical. And the panel shared very personal stories on each of our experiences as our navigating disability and neurodivergence personally, and then also professionally.
I love that.
Yeah.
What a great topic. And the beauty of doing these podcasts, Melissa, is for the people that couldn't be here,
Yeah.
we get to share it with them.
Yeah, that's great.
And so I'm excited for this chat. Tell us about you and your company.
Sure. So I am one of the co-founders of Joshin. My co-founder and I are twin sisters. We grew up like the 1 in 5 families who have a loved one with a disability. So our big brother, Josh, was born with developmental disabilities, epilepsy, and also throughout his life had brain cancer multiple times. So as a family navigating really complex health conditions, but also growing up in a rural community, we saw firsthand the struggles that so many families face like ours, navigating the right type of supports at the right time. And so when Josh, our big brother, passed away 15 years ago, Melanie and I were early in our careers and really felt called to start building products and services for families like ours. And so we started as licensed Medicaid providers. We started a Medicaid organization focused on rural communities and providing access to really quality person-centered supports for adults with disabilities and varying conditions. And so we grew that company for 8 years. We really partnered with small providers and, really focused on growing in those rural communities. And eventually we were acquired by a public company in December of 2019, so just before COVID. And through that acquisition process, started to realize and see gaps in workplace, specifically on the topic of disability and neurodiverse employees and their families. And so we built Joshin, the company we're here talking about today.
Wow. Awesome journey. I love your experience. And it all sort of funnels back to your experience.
Yeah.
And wanting to provide families with the resources and care that they need, where it's very difficult, especially in rural communities.
Highly fragmented. It's one of the most, navigating disability and neurodivergent conditions is highly fragmented. You often have to go to places like Facebook groups or your community center or other places where you can find families like yours or individuals if you self-identify. And so our goal is really to support the world's largest minority group, and one that we can all join at any time, and providing that first access point to navigating to quality support and coaching, and as well as in-network providers who are neuroaffirming. And it's just a passion of ours to make sure that this is something that's accessible for everybody.
Thanks for what you do.
Yeah, thank you.
So who all is considered disabled and neurodivergent, and just how prevalent is this in our workplaces today?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to read for a minute because I think it's important to get the definition correct. And then I'll talk about the prevalence and maybe where we have gaps in people showing up in this. But in order to ground, I really want to define disability, varied conditions as defined by the CDC. Disability is any condition of the body or mind that makes it more difficult for the person with the condition to do certain activities and interact with the world around them. Truly recognizing disability as a social construct is huge, and what that narrative around it is. What the prevalence for disability, the prevalence is nearly 1 in 4, and the examples are Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, cancer, multiple sclerosis or MS, spinal cord injury, and as well as traumatic brain injury. Those are just a few examples of disabilities. Now, defining neurodivergence, you want to pay particular attention to neurodiversity. And that's the diversity among human minds. And it is really newly recognized. Neurodivergence sometimes is abbreviated as ND, so you might see that. And it means having a mind that functions in which is divergent significantly from the dominant societal standards or norm. And these oftentimes the community pays attention to the use of these words. So it's important to note that neurodivergence is not a medical condition or clinical. So I think it's really important to make sure we hit that point. 1 in 5 are neurodivergent, or 15 to 20% of the employee population. So it's a significant number. And one thing to note on the topic of disability is, over 60% of disabilities are non-visible. So it's really important as we talk about, especially in the workplace, that people have the opportunity to self-disclose in a confidential way, because oftentimes these are, supports and needs that are not seen.
Yeah.
They have to be talked about.
Yeah, no, I love it. Thank you for giving us that education. I think we all can use it and be reminded of it.
Yeah.
Because it's something that needs to be talked about.
Right. Yeah. And especially if so much of it is unseen and people are carrying these stories and these experiences around with them. Only 3% of employees who are disabled or neurodivergent are actually self-disclosing, which is why we're here today, because we have to create safe places for employees to go to. Our research shows that nearly 70% of managers are undereducated and don't even know what the accommodation process is internally for these employees. So what we're seeing in the landscape is ways to address stigma. And the way we really do that is to create safe places for everybody on this topic, whether it's a manager who wants to say, I don't know what neurodiversity means. And that is a common question. And we want to have a place where we can educate and get coaching and support on these. And then a safe place for employees to self-disclose a diagnosis so they can get the right type of support, as well as caregivers.
Yeah, and I love this. And for me, this is a great learning experience as well. So I was looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking to learn and get better about this so I could also do my part.
Right. I think everybody, if we start to get more and more educated, it's like the Kevin Bacon, how many degrees?
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah.
Right? The 10 degrees or 7 degrees. Yeah. Like we're all so close to it somehow.
Yeah.
Because of the prevalence. And the diagnosis rate of neurodivergent conditions has risen since COVID-19. So through COVID-19, we saw a 25% increase in depression and anxiety symptoms worldwide. And we saw a lot of data coming out on co-occurring conditions with neurodivergence. And so this is an area that, on the tailwind of mental health, neurodiversity is that next emerging category and topic that needs to be supported and addressed, similar to mental health.
Love that. No, thanks for addressing that, Melissa. What outcomes is Joshin noticing today for existing members and clients?
Yeah, great question. And I think what's been really interesting is, being a solution that's sort of creating this category in the workplace, we have taken our time in creating baseline data, right? And it's really important for employers to understand we're spending this money and, investing in our employees, but what are we seeing as outcomes? So some of those outcomes that I'll share today are, we have coaching. And so some of the outcomes that we've observed through that is 84% of employees have said that the coaching has really impacted their daily life in a positive way. 84% said it improved their overall mental well-being. And then we also have navigation support. So what that means is employees can go to our navigators and get access to in-network providers and directed to the right type of resources. So 86% of members feel better equipped to do their responsibilities at work with this type of support, and are seeing an average of 9 hours of savings a week.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And especially as you mentioned at the beginning, it's so fragmented. The amount of time, I have an aunt whose kid is neurodivergent.
Yeah.
And she has spent years, hours trying to find help for them. And so to have a navigator there would be a godsend.
Yeah. Just to take that mental and, physical load off of the paperwork, the finding the right providers, the managing the wait lists. That's what I'm hearing at this conference. Are people who are in this field have a personal passion, but we're all still struggling to make sure that we're getting to the right type of supports and interventions as quickly as possible.
I love it. Well, so great that you guys do what you do. Melissa, a huge resource, and we need to let more people know about it.
Yeah,
That's
I think so too.
So the beauty of doing these types of podcasts is that we're not just having the conference and it ends.
Right.
We get to share this message and have it spread. So as we conclude our discussion today, what call to action would you leave to our viewers that couldn't make it? And what's the best way for them to reach you or for them to share your company with somebody that could benefit?
Yeah, I appreciate that opportunity. I think it is really important. And I would encourage anybody who's watching this and or listening to this podcast to think about your workplace. And do you know anybody who's neurodivergent? Knowing that 1 in 4 are, or 1 in 5 are, or having a disability. And if you're not hearing this talked about in your workplace, start to uncover why. Because I guarantee that you're working with, for, or managing somebody who is neurodivergent or is supporting a loved one. So what you can do is start looking internally at what benefits are offered and what supports are there. This community, the neurodivergent and disabled community, deserves a specialized solution built for and by the community because we really understand what it means to bring that expertise and care. And so my call to action would be if you want to learn more about Joshin, you can email us at partnerships@joshin.com or go to .joshin.com. Sign up for our newsletter. We have monthly free webinars on this topic. So you can join a webinar at any time, no cost. You can also watch past webinars and just become better educated or find the right type of support on this topic.
I love it, Melissa. Thank you so much for all those resources.
Thank you.
For the work that you do for this community. And for everybody with us that's tuning in, make sure you check out the show notes of this episode. Melissa Danielsen, CEO at Joshin, just sharing so much value and paving the way for a brighter future for this segment of the population. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And Melissa, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
This podcast is produced by Outcomes Rocket, your healthcare exclusive digital marketing agency. Outcomes Rocket exists to help healthcare organizations like yours to maximize their impact and accelerate growth. Visit outcomesrocket.com or text us at 312-224-9945.